Welcome to The Big Rich Show. This podcast will focus on conversations with friends and acquaintances within the four-wheel drive industry. Many of the people that I will be interviewing, you may know the name, you may know some of the history, but let's get in depth with these people and find out what truly makes them a four-wheel drive enthusiast. So now's the time to sit back, grab a cold one, and enjoy our conversation.
Whether you're crawling the Red Rocks of Moab or hauling your toys to the trail, Maxxis has the tires you can trust for performance and durability. 4 wheels or 2. Maxxis tires are the choice of champions because they know that whether for work or play, for fun or competition, Maxxis tires deliver. Choose Maxxis. Tread victoriously.
Why should you read 4Low Magazine? Because 4Low Magazine is about your lifestyle, the four-wheel drive adventure lifestyle that we all enjoy. Rock crawling, trail riding, event coverage, vehicle builds, and do-it-yourself tech, all in a beautifully presented package. You won't find 4Low on the newsstand rack, so subscribe today and have it delivered to you. On today's episode of Conversations with Big Rich, we have Bill Kassler. Bill and I have known each other for quite a few years. We'll get into that, but he is also the reigning president of the Terra Del Sol Jeep Club, which of course does their big event called Desert Safari every beginning of March or so. But we'll talk all about that and his history. So thank you for coming on, Bill, and hope you enjoy this process.
Well, thanks for having me, Big. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. So let's just jump right in and find out some history about yourself before we get into the club. And so when were you, or where were you born and raised?
Well, I was born in San Diego, California, and except for maybe 2 or 3 years, I've always been here in Southern California, in the San Diego area. My dad was ex-military Navy, and so I'm a Navy brat, and so that's where I've been, and it's been wonderful.
So he was stationed down there in Coronado then?
Well, he retired just before I was born.
Okay.
So he got a job with civil service up in Bremerton, Washington, and he hated the rain. And my mom said when she could see through my skin, it was time to go. So we moved back to Southern California, where my dad got another job with civil service and worked all over 32nd Street here and Point Loma and all of the bases in San Diego.
Oh, okay, great. And so what was your early childhood like down in the San Diego area?
Well, typical, we spent most of our time outside riding bikes. We were on the cusp of BMX stuff, so we had ramps out in the street and on the driveway that we built to do jumps, and the biggest trick on a motorcycle or a bike at that time was a cross up. So we would do that and played outside, anything we could do, games, riding bikes, you name it. In fact, the beginning of On Any Sunday, that was any day around Southern California with us and our friends on our bicycles.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a great movie. I had a friend that I went through Boy Scouts with, and he left and moved down to Southern California somewhere. At the time, we were just getting ready to go into high school, or first year in high school. And he got into BMX riding down there, and it was relatively new and fresh at that time. I'm a little bit older than you, I believe, and we were riding bikes, but nobody had real what you would call a BMX bike. I mean, the coolest bikes that came out were the Schwinn, like Apple Crate, Orange Crates, those bikes. But that had that big wheel in the back and the little wheel up front, so not quite the same.
Oh yeah, we were fortunate enough to get one of the very first BMX bikes around. was a heavy steel frame and everything, but we made the best of them and learned how to bunny hop and had a lot of fun on them. I did have a few friends that got into the racing. We kind of never really did. I was never aggressive enough to race, but I sure liked watching it, and I liked playing like I was racing. But I didn't like being so close to the other riders.
Right. Understood. So, when you were going to school in San Diego, were you studious? Were you athletic, or kind of did your own thing?
I was probably a C average student. School for me was kind of a social event. I learned enough to get me to move on to the next grade. Um, I don't know if it was just the way I learned things, but I was always I always liked to play with things, to work with my hands and build stuff. Um, but I did do well enough to graduate. I wasn't an honor student. I wasn't a jock. I did run track, and I played football 1 year, and I was too small for that, and learned that very quickly, that I was too small to play football. But what we did was probably when I was maybe 12 or 13, we talked our parents into getting me and my brother motorcycles, and that's what we did. That was our big hobby, was riding motorcycles. And those things kept us out of trouble. My mom would piss my dad off by keeping the truck home, and my dad would have to drive the station wagon to work so that we could load the motorcycles up right after school, and we would go ride until the sun was down, and my mom would be there to meet us. Don't forget, this was all before cell phones, and we just had to, be here when the sun goes down.
Yeah, I remember those days. It was when the lights went down or the sun went down and they turned on the street lights.
Yep. So we were fortunate enough for about 4 miles from our house. We had a huge area that everyone rode motorcycles, and that area was a big influence to me. I mean, just having that opportunity. Of course, this was back in the 70s when it wasn't so litigious.
Right. No, everybody was responsible for themselves.
Yes.
So then, and you said we, and I'm assuming that's your brother?
My brother and some of my friends,
Okay.
had a small group of friends that we'd go ride with. Coincidentally, during pretty much that same time, my aunt, who lived in Washington, married a guy that he was into Jeeps. So when we would travel to Washington, we'd get to ride in Jeeps, and we thought that was just a blast. My first ride in a Jeep was bouncing around. We were bouncing around so much I couldn't stop laughing.
And that was about the same time period, or younger,
Yep.
older?
Yep, about the same time.
Cool. So then, are you the oldest brother, or are you the youngest?
I am the oldest. I have a brother who's 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
At the time, he was the daredevil. He was no fear, and it was fun to watch him. But somehow we survived all that.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with brothers. It's typically that way, where the youngest or the second is always more of the daredevil. I don't know if it's because they're trying to keep up with the older kid, so they have to push themselves harder at a younger age. I don't know what it is, but it seems to go that way.
Yeah, it sure is funny.
So he was the one with that had more hospital visits?
No, I think we did both pretty well. It's just I couldn't believe what he would get away with. Physically, he it was pretty wild.
Cool. So from motorcycles, at that 13-year-old age or so, when did you graduate into four-wheel vehicles?
Well, I think I was probably 18, 19 years old, and I I wanted to buy a four-wheel drive pickup. And so I did. My very first four-wheel drive was a 1972 Chevy Cheyenne four-wheel drive half-ton pickup. Um, uh, I didn't know a whole lot about what I was doing. I did go out and have some fun with it. Um, uh, Remember being at Fiesta Island, which is a little dirt island in the middle of Mission Bay, San Diego, where we were out one night doing things that teenagers and young 20-year-old kids do. And I drove up over a little mound, and my friend was very impressed because I caught air. And I said, I caught air? He goes, yeah, that was great. I said, well, watch this. So we went a little faster after that, and we were flying my pickup truck that night, and that was some good fun.
Nice, almost like what was that Lee Majors one where he was driving the Fall Guy? That's
The
it.
Fall Guy. Yep, we definitely not as dramatic, not as like far, but maybe a 12 inches of air, and hit the ground.
Yeah. No, that way you're not repairing it every time it lands.
Well, I can't believe that I didn't need an alignment after that, but needless to say, it was just a lot of good fun back then.
Excellent. So, what did you do to support your habit? From high school, did you go into college or did you start working?
I started college. I started out, I wanted to be an electrical engineer. That lasted about 6 months until I got a job and found out what money was and what money could do. So I bounced around a little bit until I was about 25, and then I became an apprentice electrician. And from there, I went, I've stayed in pretty much the electrical and low voltage trades. Even till now, I'm in electronic security. So that has supported me. If you want me to continue following down the line of how I've come to where I'm at now,
Sure.
With my vehicles is, I bought, after my Chevy pickup, I bought a Ford Ranger. I bought it brand new, and I thought that was just a super cool little truck. It was four-wheel drive. That's when I started playing around a little bit more off-road. I had a little bit more money. I could afford to do more things to it. So I had it lifted. My very, very first desert safari was in 1995. And I had a brand new newborn son. And about 3 weeks later, I left to go to safari. My now ex-wife didn't really think that was cool, but I thought it was fine. Her parents were around. And I did some of the trails, and I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. They had signs on the trail that said, don't touch your brakes. If you touch your brakes, you're going to go over, kind of things. They were all funny, but to me, they were like terrifying. But, we did what they said, and I had the best time. It was so much fun. It was the greatest thing. And then from there, I for a while I didn't have a vehicle, a four-wheel drive, and it wasn't until I began dating my current wife, and we bought a motorhome together, and we started looking at things to tow, so it would, make our trips a little bit more enjoyable. And I decided, well, why don't we buy a Jeep? Because number one, you can flat tow it, you can customize it to your liking, and it's utilitarian. It was completely, it didn't fit whatever we had. We had 3 young boys. How do you put 3 young boys in a Jeep? It has no room in it.
Duct tape and ratchet straps.
We did all of that. So we made it work, and it was a great tow vehicle. But from there, we we started meeting friends that had other, had Jeeps. And, that really opened up our world of off-roading. We started going to events and we started getting involved. And, that silly Jeep, now we have hundreds of friends that have four-wheel drive vehicles. I met you because of off-roading.
Right. So when was it that you got that Jeep to tow behind, about what year?
That was 2002.
2002. Okay.
So we bought, it was a Jeep Sport, and it was completely open with differentials, and I honestly feel that was probably the best way to learn how to wheel.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to pick the right lines to keep moving forward. And then the Rubicons came out, and we had a friend that bought one, and we were all in awe of those things. And we were out one day, and we watched how those lockers worked, and that was it. We had to have one of those. So in 2004, we traded in our 2002 to get a Rubicon, and we still have that Jeep today.
Awesome. Okay. So let's talk about when we met. I'm going to say it was either when I attended my first TDS, Desert Safari, or was it the Boulevard event that we put on down there in Southern California?
I think it was probably at Safari.
Okay.
I think you had a little RC track that you set up. Is that correct?
No. The first time I went to Safari, we came down in one of the Rhino off-road vehicles, the tubed buggies with the Honda motors.
Yep.
That would have been the first my first trip down there.
Well, so was that when we were still over at North Marina?
It was the original site.
Okay. So that was North Marina. Yeah.
Okay.
So I started really getting involved with Safari in about 2003. And I was a volunteer for Safari and was hanging around the club from 2003 to 2006. In 2006, we became members.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was 2006 or 7, maybe 5 when I had that Rhino off-road RTV, they called it. And Little Rich and I went down there to Safari and kind of displayed the vehicle, you might say, for Howard Pearl, who owned the company at the time.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That was pretty fun. So when you got involved, you said that then you became a member. You were around the club for 3 years. Was that just going out on some of their runs, or was it just out to Desert Safari, or how involved were you?
Well, it started out just Safari. Probably after the second Safari in 2004, we started probably going to meetings. Funny story, one of the friends of ours that is still a member, I knew him when I was 18 years old, and we were running around San Diego. Never went to school together. We met each other at a church, and one day we were out at Coyote Canyon, and we were climbing up the rocks going up the hill, and I saw a guy who was spotting for a guy who was going in front of us. And I got up to him, and we looked at each other and said, "I know you." And he says, "I know you." So he was a member. He joined right before us. And we had several friends that were pointing us in the direction of Terra del Sol. So we finally were starting to go to meetings. And so we probably got into it around 2004, where we were doing meetings, club runs, and Safari.
And the club is pretty large, is it not? I mean, membership wise?
We cap our membership at 50.
Oh,
50 family memberships. Yeah, we're a small club.
Okay. Some reason it's always seemed bigger. I guess it's just because of all the people that show up for Desert Safari.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky when we get a lot of help. We have other clubs that help us. San Diego Four Wheelers, the Hemet Jeep Club, San Diego Off Road Coalition, Corva people help us out. I mean, we do get a lot of help, but we have a lot of the family members of our club members that come out and really help us as well.
Okay. So how many years has I know that you said 2004 second year, but that's your second year. How long has the club been doing Desert Safari?
60 years.
Wow.
Our first year was in 1962.
1962. Wow.
Yeah, that was a year before I was born. Now I've really dated myself. I've heard lots of stories about the very beginnings of Safari, and they would raffle off bicycles, washing machines. They did tires back then still, but they would get obscure items to raffle off. It wasn't just off-road parts.
Well, that's interesting. And it's always been out there in the same area?
It has. The location has moved like 3 or 4 times, but for the bulk of the time, it was at North Marina, and it was kind of down in that little wash that we had it in, and it stayed there for probably 40 years there.
And that's called Truck Haven?
Yes.
Okay. And is that part of the state park down there?
It is now. Yes.
It is now. Okay.
Yes.
And and the state parks have moved you from that location?
Yes. All the regulations, they don't allow organized events up there. You can have a trail up there. You just can't have big organized events. So there are certain areas in the park where you're allowed to do that. So
Okay.
that's where we've moved a few times due to regulations and cost and all of the above. But really, state parks and Truck Haven and Ocotillo Wells is our home.
Okay. And that's the Inland Empire. No, that's not. Is that considered Inland Empire?
Nope,
No.
that's Imperial Valley.
Imperial Valley. Okay, above Brawley.
Yep.
Right. Okay. And anybody looking at your maps, Southern California, lower desert, Brawley is just above Baja.
Yes, and we're right next to the Salton Sea, just west of the Salton Sea.
Correct. Yeah. So let's talk about those early days, as you know it, history-wise, and kind of some of the things that carried over, like you were talking about the raffle that you had, not just automotive parts, but anything that you guys could get to attract people to come to the event, correct?
Yep. We still have pictures here and there of what flyers used to look at. Like the history of the club is basically this. In the late 40s and the early 50s, after World War II, they had search and rescue teams, and because of the military background of most of these people, they were familiar with Jeeps, so they became to love them. So they would use them in the search and rescue, and a lot of these people got to know the backcountry of San Diego very well. Some of those people broke off of the search and rescue and focused on the recreation of just four-wheeling or jeeping.
More socially.
Yes, and just having fun going out and seeing what these vehicles would do. And 2 of those people were some of our founding members, and one of the names was Bozzie Willis, and he he drew all of the artwork on our raffle tickets, our flyers, our program. He was our artist. He came up with our club logo and our club plaque that we still run today.
Nice.
So super entrenched in history in the area. We have a deep rooted history in the deserts of San Diego and Imperial County.
Right. And with those early days of, do you know what the number of attendants that you had, say, that the club had in those early days in the 60s?
Probably under 100 the first few, and it grew over time. It wasn't until probably the late 90s, early 2000s when we really started growing the event, and getting the bigger numbers. But I remember stories about, we didn't rent porta potties out there. We had wooden outhouses that we would put together, and they would dig pits out there for our toilets. So it was much smaller, and it was, I don't want to say more manageable. It was just easier to cater to our guests back then.
Right.
We still do a good job at it. It's just that it was pretty intimate.
Right. And any time that you grow attendees or spectators or whatever you want to call them, it always makes things a little more stressful, where you need to have more volunteers to help.
Well, yeah, you want to give our guests the experience that we hope that they would have. But I got to tell you, it's a little different than going out with 7 or 8 of your buddies and going out and cruising along and having fun, and you get 600 people on a trail. It's just a little bit different.
Right. 600 people on a trail. I can't even imagine. And I know you guys do that, like a loop trail ride, and that's a huge number of people that show up. Do you offer multiple trails, like in different locations, or is it just that one big loop trail?
So the way we've always ran it is that we have basically one big loop trail, like you said, and we call that the green run. We mark that trail with green arrows. We've had it to the point where we've had 2 different startings, so we could get everybody off the main road and get them out on the trail, and then it would funnel down into the normal trail. Off of the main trail, we've historically had red arrows, which would be a little bit more difficult. It would take a little more skill and a little bit more fun, and that would offer a little bit of little loops that went off of the main trail. And then we'd have blue arrows, which were just completely nuts. You have to be a little bit off to drive on those, which a lot of us are.
Right. So do you, like on typical trail rides, like at Easter Jeep or some of those, you have like a trail leader, a mid-trail gunner, and then somebody that brings up the rear there, tail gunner. Is that how you guys do this, or is it just like, okay, everybody take off and follow the arrows?
Well, it's kind of a little bit of both. The trail is a follow the leader trail. We do have a trail boss that he runs he ramrods the whole trail, and we do have a tail end Charlie. We do have checkpoints out on the trail. We have trail control points, where if we see a part of the trail is being congested, we might reroute some people to keep things flowing. So it's a big work to do it out there. But for the most part, if you wanted to just go out there, you could follow the trail, follow the arrows on the trail, and do the whole thing by yourself with no leader. But normally we got a lot of people out there just, following the person in front of them.
Okay.
And we've heard people say, there's a traffic jam out there. We're sitting in there. Well, that's fine and everything. If you want to have that attitude, it's always been my attitude that, if I'm in a traffic jam and I can get out and have a soda, maybe a little snack, and get to know the people that are around me, I'll take that any day over Southern California traffic.
Right. I was going to say, so when you guys set up the trail, who is it that works for Department of Transportation that figures out where all those those other locations are at, with, like you were saying?
Yeah, we have one person who's our trail boss, which is the ramrod, he's not the ramrod, he's the trail boss, and he is our designated person to go out and find the trail. Of course, that's the way it used to be. Nowadays, we have to stay on, pre-planned routes and such that are all approved by the state parks. But we still can go out and pick and choose where we want that trail to go. And so we still have the trail boss that goes out and plans the trail. And he'll choose, where we start. At the end of the day, we'll find out how long the trail is, and we try to keep it somewhere around 15 to 20 miles so that everyone can be back for raffle.
Okay. And when you do, you pick your routes. Now, Ocotillo Wells in the area that you use, Truck Haven, I guess, that's part of Ocotillo. Is that open area, or is that designated trails only?
No, it's all pretty much open. They would like to see you stay on established trails, but due to the just normal nature out there, there's a lot of trails that get washed away or blown away by nature. So, a lot of people know where the trails were and have been. But, if you can get a Jeep up through a wash, someone's probably already been up there. So, right. It's designated as an open riding area.
Okay. And so for your event, though, you have to plan the routes and have them marked because, well, that's the requirements of state parks. Who manages the land. Okay. Right. And more about the event itself, if somebody was to wanting to come and participate, I said it's typically that first weekend in March. Is that still the case?
Typically, sometimes it's the very last of February. It's just either the last of February or early March. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's where we've always conflicted with our dates of our opener with We Rock, is that we're kind of stuck with the 2 weeks after when Wickenburg has their Frontier Days or whatever, I can't remember what they exactly call it, Gold Rush Days, and that always seems to fall on the same weekend that you guys do TDS. So we've always had a conflict there, but since ours is a competitive event, most of the Southern California Jeepers and people from around even Arizona that are trail riders go there instead of the competition. So I don't think it's hurt either one of us, spectator or attendance wise.
Yeah, it can be a bit frustrating, but I think that it just proves to the fact that our sport is popular, so I feel that it's probably a good problem to have.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. So let's talk about if somebody wants to be involved as an attendee, do they go to your website and sign up, or is there a sign up period? What's the typical protocol?
Yeah, typically we open up our registration somewhere around late November, early December, and they just go to our website. It's tds4x4.com, and they can get all the information. We have merchandise there, and that's where they would typically go.
Okay. And how long is the event? When does it
It,
start and finish?
we call it a weekend event, but normally we're open Thursday. All of our big happenings are on Saturday
Okay.
for the most part. Our T-shirt booths are always open, and our registration booths are always open. Probably no later than noon or somewhere around that on Thursday afternoons.
Okay. So people can show up Thursday afternoon, get signed in, even though they're pre-registered. They got to physically sign in, go through a tech. Is that correct?
We don't do a safety inspection anymore, but yeah, they do have to come and pick up their raffle ticket and finish their registration.
Oh, okay. And then what other services come with signing up? Is there, besides the raffle and the trail ride, what else is involved?
Well, we typically have a vendor show as well.
Okay.
And I don't know, we have about 12 acres or something that we fence off, and we have a vendor show. We have food vendors that come there. We have porta potties and hand wash stations. We have a stage that we normally have. If nothing's going on, we'll have at least some music playing. Lots of people to talk to about anything you want to talk to off road.
Cool. Do you guys are you near the man-made play area?
Yes. So I'm glad you asked about that. That's one that you and Little Rich helped us with.
Right.
Between state parks and Terra Del Sol and the expertise of Big and Little Rich, we did build that training area, and our preferred location is right in front of that training area.
Right. I could imagine that, because that gives people things to do besides just riding on their own out in the middle of nowhere, where everybody can kind of hang out and see what everybody else is doing.
Yes, and it's also a place that if you don't have to have a Jeep to you can walk in there. On the big weekends, there's normally something going on and something crazy going on. So it's kind of a big spectator thing. People get to show off while they're scraping their rigs through some of our obstacles, or seeing if they can climb certain things, and just do a YouTube search of TDS training area or Ocotillo Wells training area. You'll see, some of the crowds and some of the craziness goes on over there.
Yeah. I can remember. How's all that stuff holding up? I haven't been down there in years.
It's pretty good. I mean, the biggest issue is the wind, and it blows dirt into some of the obstacles, and and with COVID, really, we haven't been out to do a whole lot of work on it, but we need to get out there and see if we can do some maintenance on it.
Right. Pull the sand out of those, because like we built that little sluice area that had the twists and turns in it and the steep walls.
That is a fan favorite.
I can imagine. You can get pretty messed up in there.
Yeah, and it holds up pretty well. I mean, that one kind of keeps itself clean, and it works great. So
good. Glad to hear that.
And really, thank you for helping out with that. I mean, I personally and Bo Nice were out there for a lot of that construction. We all kind of had a hand in designing some of that, but you guys and you and Little were the biggest, guys that helped us with designing those things and making them world class.
Well, thank you. We enjoy that, building that stuff. So the event there at the training area, typically the preferred location, Thursday you can sign up. Thursday and Friday you can go out freewheeling, play in the training area, and then Saturday's the big run, and then you get back into camp after the run and do the raffle. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and what are your attendance numbers? Do you have a limit on them, or what have they been running?
We don't have a limit, but they're anywhere between 15 and 1,700 usually, registered vehicles.
Wow. And you figure there's got to be typically an average of at least 2 people per vehicle.
Right. Yeah, we draw a crowd. We're like Smokey and the Bandit. We do what we do best, and that's show off.
Awesome. And do they still allow a fireworks show?
Well, okay, so here's where we're going to get a little melancholy. Our club has decided that we're going to defer our 60th annual safari 1 year. And the reason that is because the effects of COVID. So 2021, we had a virtual safari. We did have a small booth out in the area that we sold our merchandise. We had a very small raffle. We were very appreciative to the people who still supported us through that. However, we're still feeling the effects of COVID. Most of our vendors, they can't get product, and the product that they have is flying off their shelves. So we felt that it would be a disservice to our vendors and to our participants to try to put on a full-blown 60th. So we're postponing our 60th for 1 year. When we do come back for the 60th, it will be full, and we're hoping to have fireworks at the 60th. We're hoping to have a record dollar amount on our raffle, and we're hoping to have a great trail for everyone.
Sounds awesome. So then in 2022, it'll be virtual like it was in 21?
Yes. I'm sure that a lot of the restrictions will be lifted. We're still working through some of the details, but we will have a foothold down there with our T-shirt booth, and we're looking at different ways of having a raffle. It will be smaller, so everything will be smaller, but the desert is open. We encourage everybody to come out and use their desert and enjoy it. We'll be out there to greet everyone and say hello and say thanks for coming and supporting us.
Awesome. Sounds good. And so what other activities does the Terra Del Sol 4-Wheel Drive Club do? Is it just the one big event, or do you guys have monthly trail rides or other things?
Yeah. Yes, we do have monthly trail rides. We all of our monthly runs are always open to guests. We have some pretty unique trails that we run. We run Devil's Canyon, which parallels Interstate 8 down from the mountain to the desert floor.
Oh, really?
Yes, Devil's Canyon was really the old highway, and the way people used to cross the mountain. It is a gnarly trail. Bo Nice put it the best. If you come on that trail ride, you have to have a casual attitude towards body damage.
I would imagine. So does it stay in that wash mostly, or does it crisscross underneath?
Yeah, it does. It does. You'll go by bridges and you'll see freeways, and we do cleanups out there because if you're next to a freeway, you're going to get trash.
Oh yeah.
So we go do that. It's 2 miles, 3 miles long. I can't remember, but it's a 6 mile round trip and it takes all day. So you can tell what kind of obstacles are in your way. You guys with your We Rock stuff, you guys have fun on that trail.
Yeah, I've always loved that set of boulders out there. Just trying to figure, that whole area has just got some just fantastic granite boulders, old granite.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's many waterfalls. There's tight squeezes with lots and lots of rocks. A lot of fun. I mean, I've personally not taken my Jeep on it because I'm just too little chicken. But
You don't
with the
have
right,
that casual.
no, I don't have that. Actually, that is my wife. If I came back with a gash in the side, I'd hear it from her. But with the right rig, it's a great day. And if you have the right rig, you can get out of there without body damage. But if a guy is inexperienced, he's either going to break something or smash something.
Okay. What other trails do you guys do in that Southern California area?
Well, let's see. We do a lot of stuff in Corral Canyon. That's a national, not national park. It's U.S. It's a Cleveland National Forest.
Okay.
So there's lots of trails out there. We have some adopted trails in there. We've cut new trails out there for more enjoyment. We do a lot of mild trail rides. We do some overland trips, mostly all of the desert Southwest, and our mountain areas where we do trail rides. Basically, if we can get our tires in the dirt, we're having a good weekend.
Awesome.
The summertime comes, and normally then we're trying to stay in the altitude of the mountains, or we'll go as far as doing a street ride along the coast to take the tops off and stay cool, and have a little bit of beach fun. We can't get on the sand, of course, in Southern California, but
come to Texas.
What's that?
Come to Texas. We got
Yeah.
like 90 miles down here where we're at, along the Gulf Coast. You can do 60 miles in the national park, seashore, and the Padre Island National Seashore. Easy for me to say, huh? And then there's another 30 miles or so from that north along the coastline and down here in the Coastal Bend area outside of Corpus Christi. And it's great wheeling. It's fun.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. That friend that I told you about that I met on Coyote Canyon, that I've been friends with since I was 18, he and a group of friends did an overlanding trip, and they outlined the border of Texas on a trip. Took him 30 days. Yeah, he's got some stuff on YouTube. Maybe if I think about it, I can shoot you the link to his series. But yeah, they did the whole border of Texas. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Yeah, send me some of that information. And
okay.
Then, so, just trying to get as much information for people that might be interested in joining your club runs and stuff. You guys on your website, which you said was TDS 4x4, was that correct?
Yeah,
okay,
that's correct. Do you have
a schedule?
Yeah, we have schedules on there. We also have we're on Facebook. If you just search Terra Del Sol 4-Wheel Drive Club of San Diego, we're on Facebook, and it seems like social media is where everything's at these days.
Yeah. Too much of everything, you might say.
Yep.
So then people can join and come in your trail rides and stuff. How many active members of that 50 capped? Are you at 50?
No, we're not quite there. We have some folks that are emeritus, which means they've been in the club for more than 25 years. We do have a few inactive members, but there's always room for new members. this is the way we're going to keep going for another 60 years, is bringing in new members. We accept people of all ages.
Excellent. Excellent. So anybody that's listening, if you're in the Southern California area or you're visiting there, and especially San Diego area, check out tds4x4.com and or the TDS Terra Del Sol site on Facebook, social media there, and find out, go out wheeling with these guys and have some fun. They're all a great group of guys and women.
Yeah.
I want to throw that in there. I don't want to think that, or how about a great group of dudes, since dudes is not doesn't have any kind of connotation anymore about being male or female.
Listen, I also want to throw out that, if someone's in the area and they want to go wheeling and they don't see anything on our calendar, please reach out to us. We always are doing pop-up runs. We're just, hey, it sounds fun. Let's go do this weekend or something. And if we can't get anybody, we have the network of all the other clubs in the area, and lots of different friends that may want to go. So don't let the schedule, rain on your parade. If you want to go wheeling, just reach out. We'll find something to do.
That's always good news. That's good to hear. So
that's what we are, right? We're a community, and within our community, we're all just a bunch of great people that just want to enjoy the outdoors with our rigs.
And that is what community is, what drives this whole sport. And even on the competitive side, the social side, and the business side, it's the community. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it's always good to go to these events, wherever they're at. We run into people we haven't seen in years, and it's like a big family reunion. I'm always super glad to see you and Shelly out, and everybody from the industry and in the community. We just love hanging around each other.
Exactly. So we'd like to visiting another part of that is we'd really like to reach out to you guys, and I'll do it right here, right now, and say that as you guys do your trail rides, think about putting something together for the magazine for 4 Low. We'd love to to share what you guys do in print and electronically, and it would be we're always looking for stuff like that. So think about that.
I will, definitely.
Everybody takes pictures nowadays.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's coming up for, first of all, for Bill and family?
For Bill and my family, I'm working from home now, which is what is allowing me to talk to you.
Great.
I have 0 room in my house for an office, so I'm building an office. So that's kind of taken up a bit of my time. But we're watching our family grow. We've had babies being born, and we're getting more and more of our family into off-roading. So it's a bug you catch, and you can't get rid of it. So that's what we're doing for us. As far as the club, we're looking at Safari. We've got a few runs on the books. We are planning some club runs for Thanksgiving, and we're just going to get together and have some fun for the next couple of months before Safari hits. This is usually our busy time of the year. So we do some trail rides, but a lot of our focus during the week is on Safari.
Yeah, that pre-planning.
Yeah.
And even though you guys are a year out from your 60th, because this will be 60.1, 60.1, and then you guys will do a 60.2 in 2023, I guess.
Something like that.
Yeah. So, it having a little break like that can really help get the next full event just so that it's, totally awesome. Not that your events aren't awesome, they are, but I mean, just think about how much all that extra time to plan can help.
Yeah, you think after 59 years we'd know how to do this, and you know, um, every year we get better, and we try new things, and we figure out what works and what doesn't work, and so we continue to try to innovate that stuff, and we want that experience to be great for everyone.
Excellent. So, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you can think of that you'd want to add?
No, I think we've covered a lot of stuff. I mean, let's just keep our fingers crossed that, we can start getting materials for our vendors, support our vendors. They are a big portion of this. It's easy to go out and spend money if you have it. We just need to have the stuff available for us. Land use is always a continued issue. If anybody's listening that is not involved with some sort of an organization, please get involved. If it's not with your time, please open your checkbook. There's tons of organizations out there that need help. Without that, we're going to lose all of our lands. We've lost a ton of lands already, and we want to make sure that our children, grandchildren, and their children can enjoy what we do.
Right, and that's one of the things that the club does with this organized event, the big one, Desert Safari, is that you guys make donations to land use through that.
That is correct. We typically try not to be political, but we donate to the organizations that fight those fights for us. That's not to say that we won't get involved if necessary. We have in the past, but we support a number of organizations and charities as well. We do. Let's see, Cal 4-Wheel, Blue Ribbon Coalition, Corva, San Diego Off-Road Coalition, and I know I'm forgetting a few, but we support a lot of them with the proceeds from our events.
That's excellent. So anybody that's listening to this event that they do is not helping them build their personal rigs. This is, and it's not a business, it's a club event, and they make donations with the funds that come in from the event.
Yeah, and if you don't believe me, you can take a look at my jalopy.
I get it. All right. So, let's see. Is there anything else? No, I guess we have touched on everything. Well, Bill, I would like to say thank you so much for coming on board and spending the time talking about yourself and TDS. I know what we need to talk about. We need to talk about Bo Nice. Since I couldn't talk him into being on here, we're just going to kind of push him to the curb a little bit. And if that bus happens to hit a puddle and splash on him, we won't throw him under the bus. But, what can you say about Bo Nice?
Well, the very first thing I can say is he works tirelessly at anything and everything off-road. He works so much behind the scenes that nobody knows. Out of anybody that I personally know that's in our club, this guy, he needs to be in that off-road Hall of Fame. He pushes and works so hard. He lives and eats and breathes all this stuff. He's a wonderful guy. Sometimes he's a little cranky, but that's because he has problem hearing. And but all around, him and his wife Robin are just wonderful people.
Yes.
They've been in this off-roading thing for a lot more years than I have.
That's awesome. Yeah, I will say that my story with Bo is that I was out at King of the Hammers, one of the early years, and the motorhome that I arranged to be able to rent out there fell through. And so I was sleeping. The first night I slept in the back because I didn't even bring a tent because I was going to have this RV, right? And the whole rental thing fell through and was a debacle. But I ended up the first night in the back of the Maxis trailer with all the tires and the equipment. And it was really cold. And Bo heard about that and says, well, Rich, why don't you come on over and stay in my motorhome? And Bo has a really nice motorhome. So he saved my butt on a cold King of the Hammers event. And when you listen to this, Bo, thank you so much for that, for saving me that week.
Well, I can tell you that one story that stands out in mind. I mean, there's millions of them for me and Bo, but we were co-chair for our 50th safari, and State Parks was dragging their feet on approving our trail, and I think they finally approved it the Thursday before our event. And
Jesus.
Bo and I both are very passionate about safari, and you can imagine a week in the desert with Bo and trying to get everything working right. By Thursday morning, Friday afternoon, we wanted to strangle each other and probably said it. But the 50th, we had fireworks for the first time. And after that fireworks show, Bo's not a real touchy-feely, huggy kind of guy. But let me tell you, after the fireworks, him and I were jumping up and down, hugging each other because it was such a huge success. And it's probably because he's a huge pyromaniac too. But nevertheless, we were hugging each other, and it was that's a pretty cool story.
That's awesome. All right, Bo, we didn't throw you under the bus. We just splashed you a little bit. So thank you for always being the friend that you've been to the four-wheel drive industry. All the people that want to wheel in Southern California, and myself personally. And Bill, I got to say the same thing to you too. Thank you.
You're welcome, man. I'm just happy to be a part of it. I think that most of the people in our community do the same thing if they have the time. Correct.
I agree. All right, Bill, you take care, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much, Rich. I appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoy these podcasts, please give us a rating. Share some feedback with us via Facebook or Instagram, and share our link among your friends who might be like-minded. Well, that brings this episode to an end. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you next week with Conversations with Big Rich. Thank you very much.